Okay, I don't typically record videos, but I wanted to make this video because people have the tendency to compare Solovairs to actual vintage Doc Martens and how they say that they're the pinnacle of modern manufacturing of these type of boots, of the Derby boot, or what would be described as a 1460. And although they do share lots of manufacturing techniques, I did want to actually show the differences between my 90's pair of Doc Martens and my 2025 pair of Solovair Derbys. I don't know the exact number on these, but I'll leave a description below where you can get these. Now, first on with the Solovairs, they're made in England. They're made in the, if I'm not mistaken, the same factory where these were made. If not, they were made a couple of blocks away, if I'm not mistaken, and they're manufactured by NPS. Overall, it's a really good boot. So we can see right here, it's in their high shine. It's really, really beautiful. It does take a while to break in though, just due to the whole fact that, you know, it is high shine. You can see the stitching on the boot. It does use basically all the same manufacturing techniques. As you can see, I got it in a UK 9, AK 10, and it's just overall the same. And of course, there's the inside. Don't mind the soles; they're a little bit worn, but as you can see right there, it actually has the foxing inside of there. Fiber board, if I'm not mistaken, at the bottom, the heel counter, and yeah, well, it's a really good. And if I'm not mistaken, they use a last. Oh, sorry, not a last. They actually do have a shank in there compared to modern Doc Martens. The tread is a little bit different, of course, because if I'm not mistaken, there was a time in the early 2000s where they were using the yellow stitching and also the proper sole color, but they since had to switch that out. Overall, it's just a really good boot. It's really comfortable. The last, I don't think that it'll fit all people. I do know that they probably make boots with like a wider last, but it's a little bit narrow, just a tiny bit narrow. But I guess it would be considered narrow compared to these. This is a late 90's pair of Doc Martens, 1460's, and they're like in a matte leather. They're extremely soft. The main difference between these would be, apart from the shape and the sole, would be the fact that the leather's different. So I originally would want these in high shine, but I was able to find these at a really good price for in this specific leather. Now, this leather is extremely soft. If I were to just go like that, it crumbles really easily. It's soft and it's really durable. I mean, if it's lasted 30 plus years, or at this point, yeah, just 30 years, 30 plus years like this, I mean, it must be a really high quality leather. Okay. Outsole, it also has a shank. It just does have the commando sole, or an actual lug sole, especially compared to these Solovairs. I do know that if you decide to get grip fast, they do have commando soles. And I do know that there is a gentleman in England that does actually resole vintage Doc Martens as well as newer Solovairs. Solovairs does have a resole service, but there is a gentleman that does resole both of these. And he can put a commando sole in just standard derbies, or if not, you can contact like the resoling department of Solovair. Just comparing both of these, this one's a little bit more narrow than this one. It's a whole lot more bulbous, actually. Well, not necessarily bulbous. I'd say this is a little bit more bulbous, and then meanwhile this one's more flat and wide. Differences right here. And of course, the yellow stitching. Well, we can't compare that, obviously. But it's not just the yellow stitching. I do know that there is some stitching. There's a layer of stitching under this one. This is just purely cosmetic. But there is, if I'm not mistaken, the actual upper is stitched onto the outsole of this boot right here. Meanwhile, this is just a Goodyear welt. It's actually stitched onto the upper and then onto the sole. But really enough, it's lasted really well. If I'm not mistaken, on what would be the left shoe, there is a little bit of, yeah, it began to open a little bit, but that's really okay. I mean, the overall, it's not like a modern Doc where what would happen is that if this happened, the entire sole would just begin to separate from the midsole. So if this ever happens, be sure to get some urethane or some polyurethane glue, put it in there, make sure to clamp it down, and it's gonna be a-okay. I just haven't had time to do that. Compare that to, I guess, like a year of constant use. I mean, this is for a year. All the jobs of which I had in the past year, which are 2, have just required me to basically be inside. The most that I've walked is, I used to work in a bingo hall, and it's a lot of walking, selling to customers. So this boot, I would wear it a lot, and as you can see, still in immaculate condition. It's overall really good. It's really good. For some weird reason, I mean, it's not really for some weird reason. It's just I feel as though just the nature of the high shine leather. I did put a lot of mink oil on these. I did do the rose anvil method of putting a crap ton of mink oil on this to make sure that it just became softer, and it did work a little bit, not too much. Obviously, you can't compare less than a year or about a year of breaking in these to a late 90s pair. Now, I guess we can get into the actual specifics of them. So, the inside. This is the inside of the Doc Martens, as you can see. Everything's still exactly the same. It's just a little bit worn down. As you can see, it has the same like fiber board kind of construction on the bottom. It actually has the, if I'm not mistaken, that would be the UK number or the, I'm not sure whether this is, I'm actually not sure what size this is. I wasn't able to find any markings on the inside apart from on the fiberboard, but overall it's still lasted a long time and it fits really, really comfortable. As you can see right there, the heel counter is stitched on from the outside, and it looks to be a really hardened leather, or if not, looks to be like kind of like a fiberboard as well, and it's stitched from the outside in compared to the Solovairs that are stitched from the inside out. And you have kind of this design right here. You can kind of see it just penetrate through out this way, and also this stitch is a whole lot more finer than this one. Overall, my preference, it would definitely have to go to the Docs for this one. Overall, I do love the Doc shape, and I do love them each to each their own. This one's way higher, which is kind of weird considering that it is also a 4 eyelet, 8, and this one's also an 8 eyelet. Where the differences as well, of course, Solovair, you can't really put the airwear tag on them, but it is stitched. This is stitched. I do know that on modern pairs they are printed on or heat pressed on. Solovairs are also stitched on, very high quality. The leather itself, the thickness of it, I am gonna have to give the upper hand to classic Doc Marten. It is considerably thicker, not by a large margin, but just thicker. It is softer, well, after so many years of breaking in, but it looks to be classic or 90s Doc Marten. Just edges it out by a tiny bit. Now they're still high quality. This leather is still incredibly high quality, especially compared to all the boots that are being manufactured for the same price point. If I'm not mistaken, you can get these for either 200 to 220. I do know that they also regularly do discounts on these, so you can get them half off, or you can get different styles half off. I do have a pair of the astronaut boot that I don't really wear in oxblood, and those I did find in a secondhand store, as well as I did these. So, I mean, the fact that I found these in a secondhand store and this good of condition, I mean, the soles aren't particularly super worn out or anything. The shank looks to be in pretty good condition. I do know that compared to modern Doc Martens, they don't have a shank at all. And then the leather, and also the overall stitch quality, just all these little bits that just add up to a whole. They kind of snowball, and the overall QC just isn't anything compared to these. I mean, it's not to necessarily hype up this shoe, or this boot, or looking at it from a nostalgic lens. It's just due to the overall fact that this is just a higher standard of manufacturing. Overall, I feel as though another difference between both of these is just the overall it's how it wraps around your foot. I feel as though it's a whole lot more stable with the Doc Martens, the vintage Docs, than it is on the Solovairs. And the reason of which I'm saying that is because the leather piece, of which this leather piece right here, that actually where the laces actually connect to, it is a whole lot more tighter on the Docs than it is on the Solovairs. On the Solovairs, there's always going to be a little bit of an opening, and I think you can just see that in the overall design. So if I do a little overhead, you're just going to see it. It's just going to connect more. Meanwhile, it's always going to be a little bit open here. It's going to be a little bit more closed off here. And actually, I feel like you're going to be able to see it a whole lot more in the on foot section. I feel as though the Solovairs do retain their shape a little bit better. You can honestly just see just how much more taller they are compared to the vintage Docs. But yeah, I guess there are some differences between these two. Also, overall, just let's look. I know I did point out the silhouette, but let's look at it from a side-by-side comparison. As you can see, the Solovairs are higher and narrower as they go up, mostly because they do go higher compared to the actual 90's Doc Martens. 90's Doc Martens, I believe it's like about an inch difference, inch and a half difference of height. And I do know that these just happen. They're built more anatomically correct to a foot. There's no other way to describe it for me. I mean, it fits my foot better. It has a wider toe box. It fits perfectly in height. I mean, it's very much an easy grab and go, and you wouldn't expect that from a 1460, but it's very much grab and go because of the soft leather. I just jam my foot in there and then just start going, and it's just beautiful. The overall shape, I mean, you can't beat a 1460. Now, not to put down Solovair, but this is a very classic style, as you can see. It is a derby. I know that NPS is very much they do make formal shoes as well. You can definitely see that influence. It's not trying to replicate a 90's pair or a 60's pair or a etc. pair, you call it what it be, of Doc Martens, but it is trying to build off of that heritage, but in a kind of modernized, more elegant kind of way. I would say that this is very much if you're looking for something like this, if you're kind of like a classic skinhead, or if you're a punk rocker, etc. I'm not too familiar with the proper terms. This is very much a jeans boot. There's no other real way to describe it. This is a light blue wash pair of like selvage denim that you've had for a while. This is something that you'd wear with like a slightly more thrashed pair of like 90's Levi's 501s made in the US, or 505s, granted. And you can also kind of dress this up just a tiny bit with just a darker wash pair of jeans. And this one, well, I feel like this is more of a raw denim type of look. It's very much formal. It's very clean. It's very clean cut. You can't go wrong with it because of the overall style. It just exudes elegance as well. It it's honestly what I would describe it as. It's just a more refined version of a Doc. It's more refined, a slightly bit more refined. You have the workwear, you have the several decades of actual, this has the history to back it up. And this was probably one of the high points of Doc Martens at that point. They were at the top of the fashion game back then, as well as build quality, and just the overall reputation was there. This was from a time where Doc Marten was overall not just a name, but it actually had the history, it had the prestige, and it had the actual quality to back up its name. This is very workwear. You can't go wrong with it. You're not trying to paint it as something that it's not. Doc Martens are a workwear. It's a workhorse. It's like a Mustang. Meanwhile, the Solovairs a little bit more refined. It's not trying to be something that it's not. It's not trying to pass off as a continuation of Doc Marten. Now, is it... I feel like both of these, what these both have is the build quality. It's the overall... It's just the overall the swagger of these are just two completely different things. Now, if I were to pick any one of these, I would just have to say it depends. Would you want? Do you want something that you can dress up, but not to put this off there, not to put this off? You can still wear both of these however you want, but do you want workwear heritage? Do you want the original? Do you want the quality that really made Doc Marten famous, and all from the 70s all the way up to the 90s and even the early 2000s before they actually got bought out? Or do you want a modern recreation? Do you want a not necessarily a recreation, or do you want a continuation of that legacy, something that's a little bit more refined, more adapted to like a modern market? It's overall, you can't go wrong with either of these. Not putting one down, not putting the other down. They're all different. Of course, you can't compare it. Now, this is, I'm gonna be honest with you, although this is different than, let's just say, a 1460 from the 90s, it's not putting it down. The Solovair, definitely has way higher build quality than anything Doc Martens has ever produced in the last 30 years. That's just simple. It's plain fact, and it's obvious. This is closer in DNA than the modern 1460 vintage made in England line that Doc Martens is trying to shell out and trying to get people to shell out $260 for, when the build quality isn't there. The leather got cheaper on those, and they have no shank. I mean, the rubber it's definitely not there. You can't really compare it at all. This has the DNA. It has the DNA of a classic Doc. It's just a little bit more refined. It's a league in its own. You can't compare it. You can't compare both of these because it's really what you're trying to look for. Now, these I got for $24.99. I got them for an absolute steal here in what is called a thrift shop, or what would be called a charity shop in the UK. And honestly, if you get lucky, which I've seen and keep in mind, I'm from the southernmost point of Texas, so finding these, I feel like it would be easier finding them in a big city, or you can get lucky anywhere. But just to let you know, if you do get these, it does not cost anything to fix these up. I just put some conditioner on these. I put some cedar, what's it called? I put the actual, the shoe trees, there we go, inside of there, and boom, that's it. I got it up and running. And like, these boots are workwear boots. They're basically easy to clean. I mean, they'll last you a while. So if you can get these for a good price, definitely go at it. I do know that people do sell new old stock ones from anywhere from $200 to $600 on eBay. Depends where you get them. I do know that there are some people that dedicate to only selling vintage pairs of Docs, but overall, if you can get these for a good price, very much worth it. And if you still want to shell out the $200 for a new old stock pair, I'd still say they're very much worth it. It's a level of quality. It's like buying a vintage pair of Levi's. It's like you can't really compare. Like, if you want quality, you got to shell out the money. That's where this comes in. For $200, this quality is unmatched. 200 to 220, quality is completely unmatched. You cannot compare this, especially when they have their half off. You cannot compare this. If you have the money, get these. If you truly do have the money right now and you worry about because you're buying, basically, if you do opt for a vintage pair, you don't really know what you're getting unless you see it in person. It's just the cold hard truth about buying anything vintage. It's kind of a gamble. It's not guaranteed unless the person of which you're buying it from has a good reputation, has good feedback on eBay, etc. You really won't know what you're getting. And you will know. I mean, some of these are pairs that have been unworn for 20, 30 years. You don't know the condition of the rubber. You don't know whether it's going to harden, etc. You know, what it be. So if you want just modern reliability, of course, just go with Solovair. You cannot go wrong with these. I mean, 220. If you truly do want the modern equivalent for Doc Marten, just go with Solovair. Any style that they have, I'm pretty sure Doc Marten has, or at least any style that doesn't look absolutely putrid, because I do not. In my personal opinion, to everyone, everyone's their own. Doc Marten does make some pretty weird styles now, but I guess. So if you just want modern reliability with just overall the best quality, best bang for your buck, period, go with Solovairs. But if you want the original, well, you're gonna have to get the original. And there's no other way to put it. And there you go. If you have any more questions, just feel free to leave it in the comments. I know that I did go off and ramble quite a bit. I hope that some people found it useful. And yeah, thanks for watching. So on the left side, we have the Solovairs, and on the right side, we have the Docs. So as you can see, there's a little bit of a difference overall on the overall profile on both of these. I am wearing slightly baggier jeans, but don't worry, in a little bit I am gonna roll up and cuff them a little bit, just so that you can see what we're working with here. So overall, that's how you can see it right there. See how it opens up a little bit in the middle, just how I was talking about it, or when I was talking about it. It does open up quite a bit. It does retain its shape. It's very much higher. It's a very high profile. And compare that to the Docs on the right foot, where I guess my right would be your left. It very much molds to your foot, as you can see. I'm not really shaking around in it. It's very much the exact same comfort, only that I do find as though it is narrower on the Solovairs than it is on the Docs. So they're very beautiful, as you can see. Compare that to the Solovairs, and I'm gonna do some actual on-foot shots from the. There we go. That's with the jeans stacked on top of them. I know that some of you may want to look at that. And then actually cuffed, so that you can actually see the difference. Or for you people which cuff it, sorry if I don't have any selvage on. I'm just wearing these pair of jeans. Got out of work. Or my work jeans for this. There you go, you can see the difference a little bit more. Of course, you can do an inside shot just so that you can see them. Just the overall difference about them. But yeah, definitely the Doc Marten is a whole lot more wider compared to the Solovairs. Solovairs aren't necessarily tight. They are just a little bit more narrow and do hug the foot.
It'll kind of wrap around the foot, really. Just especially around my. I have a standard deep width foot, and although it's not narrow, my foot is not narrow by any means. It's still comfortable, but if I would be working long days, I would definitely go with the 90's pair. I mean, that would be because they have been broken in for this many years, but the Solovair is still very comfortable. Just fully not broken in yet, definitely. It'll probably get to the same point as the Doc Martens at some point, but yeah. I feel as though you can't really compare the leathers too much too. This is overall just profile, more so than anything, because as you can see, this isn't high shine. It seems to be some type of matte leather. I'm not too familiar with the terms of leathers, so yeah. One last time. Zoom up a little bit more. And yeah, that concludes this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a good one.